Yeah. So it's 50, so 50 plus. And actually, in the past 2.5 years, what we've picked up, except one that's been over 100, they all have been around 50. And the
Mhm.
reason that we're willing to do, they're smaller. So you have hedge fund money that's looking to like break even, barely cash flow. They can ride out the economic storm, whatever's going to happen
Mhm.
with the market. That's hard to compete against when you have investors looking for a return, and that's your equity partners. It's hard for me
Exactly.
to come to you and say, Dwayne, hey, we have a great opportunity. It's going to return zero the first 5 years. And you'd be like, well, maybe I should talk to someone else because it's
Yeah.
not where I want to. Like, I can do that too. So, but as you go smaller, 50-ish, they are not looking. They're looking at things like 300, 500. They want big. They have a lot of money to put into work. So yes, 50 has been a really good. And like I said earlier, we're not so close-minded. When I say 50, like one was 48, one was 49. We looked at it's close enough. We'll take a look, but like 20, too small, 30, even too. It's got to be like, closer to 50 is what we look for, but we would go as big as we can, as long as it made sense on paper and the market was right. We try not to
Mm.
get emotional. We have identified those markets because we know there's job growth. People want to move there for whatever reasons, whether it be affordability, what's happening, where the jobs are going. Sometimes jobs cause people to move, but we've identified those as emerging markets, and they too have a long tail ahead of them, so that our investment's going to be fine over time.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Dino Pierce. Dino is a multifamily real estate investor and CEO of Edified Equity. Dino, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and how you doing, my friend?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I am doing great today. Thanks.
I really appreciate you calling us from the great state of Colorado. I'm here in Connecticut. I was kind of talking pre-show that I'm under, I think it's just a foot of snow, but of course, nonetheless, it's an annoyance. And I have two younger kids, so we had a little delay in school, but that's life. But
That's
I
it.
really appreciate you taking the time. Would love to learn more about your, kind of been reading more about you and learning about your kind of a large entrepreneurial background. And I'm pretty sure that's very interesting to a lot of folks that's listening, because we have a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners that listen onto the call. So I love bringing people with different perspectives and backgrounds. But for people who are not familiar with you, would you mind sharing a bit about your background, how you got started in real estate?
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, depends how far we want to go back, but if you want to touch on, entrepreneurship and like how that got into my blood, if you will, I mean, I was raised by now in today's world, being an entrepreneur is cool. It's trendy. It's like, it's the thing to do. I didn't have to go to work for the man, so to speak, and stuff like that. But I come from people who did it like out of necessity, and they just did it really well.
Mhm.
And that's the people who raised me. So I was raised by, my grandfather was an entrepreneur. I mean, at heart. I almost really relate. I say this often. I mean, I was born in America. My grandparents were born in America. We're Americans. I mean, I'm a veteran, but I relate to immigrants so much so that this guy that I'm talking about, who's like the ultimate entrepreneur in my mind, showed up day one, kindergarten, and couldn't speak English, and his parents never spoke English. So no matter where you're born, if you're kind of immersed and that's how you got your start. I think you can relate to the immigrant mentality, and they do really well because they're hard workers, and it's exactly what happened to him. Forced to quit school in the 5th grade, literally to help his father put food on the table. His unfortunate event, his father died in his arms at 13 as a 13-year-old boy in the Gulf of Mexico. His father had a heart attack and died. You can only imagine driving his father in. And then, so this uneducated, because he quit school in the 5th grade, English was a second language to him. Went on to become a self-made multi-millionaire. And he owned a marina, 2 ice houses, 2 fuel docks. Where I'm from the Gulf, so I'm from the Gulf Coast of southeastern Louisiana. He had fishing boats that went out and caught fish. He owned a seafood shed, if you will, so he bought and sold seafood back. A small motel, developed self-storage, owned mobile homes and single families as well. So and a few gas stations actually. So anyway, just growing up at 13 years old, my parents told me, they're like, look, no more baseball, no basketball, no skateboarding, no football, no nothing during the summer. You're going to work with your grandfather. And he taught me everything I know about business. So, and I always want to, make this clear. The one thing that he did for me that I really appreciate is that even though I was his grandson, working there, you would not have known it, because I worked the hardest, the longest, and got paid the least. There was a few times where he'd pull me aside and, basically take out a pen and a pad and say, hey, tell me if I'm making money here. I got 6 guys in this warehouse bagging ice. Here's what they make. That's how I knew I made the least, because I was doing the same thing as they were. I was like, wait, what are they making? So anyway, and then we put the pencil to, he's like, then they're going to put it on the truck. I'm going to pay 3 guys to go out in town and sell it to a convenience store for this. And then he's like, are we making money? Like, or do I need to pay you less? So that was really good, because I think it could have went the other way. If I went in there as the owner's grandson and, went straight to the top of the mountain, was in all the meetings and trying to call the shots, I wouldn't be who I am today. But that's where the entrepreneurial spirit started, because that's all I saw. My father had his own business. My mother had her own business. All my aunts and uncles either owned their own business or worked in the family business. Like, none of them had a job, so to speak. So it was in me to do it. And then growing up, I had, as far as my entrepreneurial, I was a personal trainer, but that was time for money, but it was very entrepreneurial. Had a little landscaping business with one partner. Again, it was time for money. And I got involved in real estate in the single family side, which again was time for money, because I was not an active flipper. I was more helping source the deals, basically on the acquisition side, lending a small amount of my money, $25,000 to help with the fix up, but to save on some hard money cost. And then I had a partner or partners who would do the active part, and they would actually flip. Then we'd do some profit splitting. And I did that for a while until just constantly someone kept dripping on me. You have a business mind. You're a good person. You're genuine. You're trustworthy. You are already. So I'm a senior business manager for a corporation. And he said, you're already busy with that. And then doing these fix and flips is another full-time job. You really should learn about syndicating apartments. And probably a year and a half of him dripping on me, just constantly telling me that. He had nothing to gain from it. He wasn't selling a course or anything like that. And I woke up one day and I don't know, it just clicked. I was like, I really should learn that. And I've been doing it ever since. And now, so we're going back about 2.5 years ago when it really clicked. So in the scheme of things, although we've accomplished, I'm happy with what we've accomplished. I have a 30-year runway ahead of me in the multifamily space, and the need and demand for supply is certainly there.
Yeah, that's an excellent story. I resonate so much with that. My parents, or my grandparents coming from Jamaica, immigrating here, and just like the work ethic. It's just, like I said, Americans great, like I said, but a lot of times we got to give some testament to the immigrants that come here that have the kind of mindset, because they come here with nothing. So they kind of say, I have to create something. And like I said, your story with your family is just awesome to hear that stuff, and kind of resonates with a lot of my investors and clients, because they came from the same background. So I'm pretty sure they're going to, like that story as well. It's kind of transitioning now, talking about your syndication business. Are you primarily focusing on multifamily or any other different types of assets? And then what type of role do you play? Are you like a full sponsor, or do you kind of joint venture with other sponsors as well?
Yeah. So first question is, yes, multifamily only. I'm not saying I wouldn't, I'm not open, but I really am trying to stay narrow and over specialize in what I know, because like like I've said on podcasts before, I know that I know that I know that I know. If you do this right as an investment, and yes, by all means, there's always something unforeseen that could happen. I don't know, right now we're doing an interview. An eagle or a hawk could crash in through the window. I never would have thought that would happen, but it could. So what I'm getting at is if in good faith, if you finance properly, if you identify the right market, if you have enough in repairs and reserves, you know what the demand is, you know what the economy is for that market, you know everything, it's pretty hard to go wrong, especially again with that right financing in place on the right asset. So I know multifamily is the right place, specifically when we talk about workforce housing. And when I say workforce, I mean the backbone of America. It's where the bulk of the population live. We don't service luxury, and we don't go into the war zones either. So we're kind of right in the middle, and we feel safe and confident that, our occupancy is high. We keep the vacancy low. We have the right debt. It cash flows from day one, and we just improve from there. So I really want to stick with multifamily, but I'm not so close-minded that I wouldn't hear some other opportunity out. As far as sole sponsor, the answer to that is no. The only way I'm able to do multiple deals and have several opportunities across many markets is because I'm part of a team. So I believe this is a team sport. And I think I don't know one person doing it solely, but so I would say it's definitely it's a syndication, but it's not a joint venture as like our typical definition, but there's definitely multiple players. We have a full-time asset manager, we have acquisitions, we have people doing investor relations and thought leadership, to constantly be educating the public about this alternative investment, because most people don't even realize it's an option. We have people that walk units and know what to look for before we go through third-party search. So it's a team.
Yeah, I like that approach a lot, because like I said, it allows you to be able to, especially for me, I'm able to access other markets that I don't know anything about. You're, in Colorado, or you may be looking at deals in Louisiana. It's just like you need someone that's probably boots on the ground that knows like all the submarkets, this neighborhood is good and this neighborhood is not good. Can you kind of talk about like the markets that you're in or markets that you like and some of the characteristics? I know you said you focus on workforce housing, backbone of America, which is, like I said, this great, like I said, good servitude as far as kind of like the tenant base and everything, everything about it. But you can tell us about the markets that you're in and that you're looking at.
Sure. So currently in Louisville, Kentucky, Huntsville, Alabama, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and Gulfport, Mississippi. That's the 4 markets that we're active in. My partner has some that I have nothing to do with, but it, kind of expands across the portfolio into Tulsa. But that's not an area we're looking for more. We are looking in those 4 markets, as well as Pensacola, Florida, right outside of Atlanta suburbs. The Dallas, Houston area would be nice. It's a tougher market, so it's hard to get in. And Little Rock, Arkansas, to name a few. Those are some areas that we would like to get into. We haven't yet. And that's one of the things that I really like about the way I'm doing it, the way my partners are involved, is we can take a long, slow, steady approach. When you have a 30-year runway ahead of you and you're not in a rush to like get to the end, like there is no means to an end. This is it. I enjoy it. I like it. I know it's the right place to be. I'm helping other people get into good investments as well, which is a big plus. So you can have a different outlook. Like for me, it's not ego. I don't want to say I have 5,000 doors under professional third-party management, or, I don't know, $30 million in assets under management. I can care less about that. I'd rather have 5,000 in assets under management that are cash flowing and are solid investments.
Exactly.
And then not be able to sleep at night because we got involved in deals that we had no business getting involved in.
As far as kind of like the target door, I know, like I said, it doesn't matter looking at for a good deal, but as far as kind of like your, initial deal hunt, are you guys looking like sub 100 or plus, 100 units?
Yeah. So it's 50, so 50 plus. And actually, in the past 2.5 years, what we've picked up, except one that's been over 100, they all have been around 50. And the reason that we're willing to do, they're smaller. So you have hedge fund money that's looking to like break even, barely cash flow. They can ride out the economic storm, whatever's going to happen with the market. That's hard to compete against when you have investors looking for a return, and that's your equity partners. It's hard for me to come to you and say, Dwaine, hey, we have a great opportunity. It's going to return 0 the first 5 years. And you'd be like, well, maybe I should talk to someone else because it's not where I want to. Like, I can do that too. So, but as you go smaller, 50-ish, they are not looking. They're looking at things like 300, 500. They want big. They have a lot of money to put into work. So yes, 50 has been a really good. And like I said earlier, we're not so close-minded. When I say 50, like one was 48, one was 49. We looked at it. It's close enough. We'll take a look. But like 20, too small. 30, even too. It's got to be like, closer to 50 is what we look for. But we would go as big as we can, as long as it made sense on paper and the market was right. We try not to get emotional. We have identified those markets because we know there's job growth. People want to move there for whatever reasons, whether it be affordability, what's happening, where the jobs are going. Sometimes jobs cause people to move, but we've identified those as emerging markets, and they too have a long tail ahead of them, so that our investment's going to be fine over time.
It's kind of speaking of that point. I just did an interview with an investor out in Arizona, and he was kind of talking about like his kind of the business plan for some of the things. They said specifically in his market, it's more based off of the project, but it's more kind of a longer term hold. Do you see, because these other markets that you're talking, that's why I love doing these interviews. I talk to investors all over the country and just learn different markets and stuff like that. What are you seeing in these kind of markets as far as kind of like the business plan play? Is it more like a 3 to 5 type of turnaround, or is more like a longer term type of deal, depending on the market?
Yeah. So it depends on the market and the asset. I mean, personally, the only reason, if I was doing this with all of my money, had no investors involved, I would be willing to like hold as long as the opportunity cost of selling didn't outweigh me holding it. Why wouldn't I want to develop a strong, solid portfolio across the United States and in the right markets and everything we mentioned that's cash flowing and paying me, and appreciating at the same time? I mean, we want to sell off of opportunity, not the calendar. But having said that, it's not all my money, and I do have investors that need a return. So they are 5, 7, and 10-year business plans. But having said that, again, the investors know ahead of time, this is the plan. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what the market's going to do. So let us tell you if the plan doesn't work out as we see it. Even though we have a 5-year business plan on this, we have a locked in debt of 10 years. We have 5 additional years that if we need to hold it because it's not right to sell at that time, like we thought it would be, we can hold for another 2 years and just continue to collect cash flow. Are you okay with that? And most people, of course, if they're not okay, they shouldn't have said, I want to be part of this investment. So we have an idea. They're 5, 7, one is 10, just because it's cash flowing so great from year one that we're like, it's kind of, and the market's so hot, it's crazy. Let's just let it cash flow. We might do a supplemental and like pull out money, make the investors happy, and then hang on it for another 5. There's so many things to do, but the initial plan is 5, 7, or 10.
Beautiful. As far as kind of like your moving forward and stuff like that, like as we grow, you need more capital. Is there ways that work best for you? This is kind of like more of like a syndication type of question. How do you like what attracts you as far as like investors that come to you and check out your investments and your brand?
Yeah. So you do need you constantly need equity partners, relationships, and you need to be building those constantly. There should be one, if not more people on your team that is part of their duty. Because when you have a deal, I mean, I used to hear all the time in real estate, if you have a deal, the money will come. And our offerings are private. You would never hear about our deal. So the only way it will come is if I tell the people that I know and that are qualified to purchase. It's not like you have a deal and even if it wasn't, even if we use the 506C where I could go on LinkedIn, Facebook, wear a t-shirt, whatever, and say, I have a great investment opportunity. Ask me about it. Dwaine, you'd see me, in the streets and be like, yeah, but I don't know you. Like it's kind of like, says you, you need to. So there needs to be a long-term substantive relationship, and you need to build trust, and that takes time. So for us, what has worked is having that 30-year runway goggles and taking the slow, steady approach. Because number one, that's the deal flow we have access to. First of all, it's a very competitive market. So we've had to say no, or we get outbid, and we stick to our guidelines. We're not going to bend just so we can, again, get a deal done.
Exactly.
But it's having that long term. And it's like, no matter what you do, there's always a limit. Like if I say I'm going to sing for the next 30 years, and Dwaine, I'm going to be a better singer in 30 years. Like, so, yeah, chances are he will be a better singer. Will he be Beyonce? I don't think so. She has the effort and the talent, to where I'm more like, but you can put in the effort and sound better. So for us, it's having that long term, and no matter what you do, my point is, you do something for 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, whatever, you're going to be better at it. And if I work on thought leadership, giving out quality consultative content, not selling anything, not asking before the trust is there, like all these, if you play by the rules, it's going to happen. It's tough when you're getting started. So you might have to stick to smaller deals, like 1.7 to 2.5 or $3 million deals. So in markets where that's 50 doors ish, you might not be able to take down a $10 million deal your first year, but that's okay. And the other thing we've done, especially as emerging, not only are the markets emerging, we're emerging managers. Like I said, for me personally, 2.5 years in the space, it's not me speaking to you 30 years in the future where I'm like 32 years of this. That's a different, I've seen and I've been and I've done it. So the other thing we've done is we've built relationships with senior operators and have brought them on board as legitimate senior operators that have oversight and we have access to, and they have some skin in the game as well. And that makes investors feel more comfortable.
Awesome. Yeah. And that kind of segues into my next question, where you kind of touched on it a bit as far as kind of thought leadership platform. I've been following you for a long time. You put out a lot of great informational content, just to learn more about the space, get more comfortable. So by the time they're ready to take action, they're, really, educate on the process, and they're willing to learn more about that risk. Can you talk about your podcast and, what stuff that you touch on and things that you kind of educate your investors about?
Sure. So my podcast, while we sell nothing, there's never an offering. I mean, all that's against the SEC guidelines anyway. We get in a big trouble. It's purely educational. So we talk about the benefits and red flags associated with being a passive equity partner, which is known as a limited partner in a syndication. Because again, I think when people ask me if I go on podcasts or just talking, however, so why aren't more people doing this? 2 reasons. Number one, it almost sounds too good to be true. And most of the time when things sound too good to be true, they are. And the other reason is they simply don't know that it's an option. And that's true. Even myself, rewind 5-6 years ago, before I even got into real estate, I didn't know that I could own a piece of an apartment. I had no idea. I thought it was corporations or like families. It was passed down, developer. I don't know. It almost didn't even cross my mind. I was like, I never really was like, how do I own one of those? Now I understand it can be owned by operators who are everyday, hardworking, honest, trustworthy people that have investors ready to back them because of their track record, or they like the opportunity. They too see the vision in the longevity of this investment. So it's educational content, quality, consultative. We talk about how to identify markets, how to underwrite properties, what you should look for, and like webinars. It's a podcast, but it's also linked to a YouTube channel. So sometimes, I mean, sometimes a YouTube channel is a thumbnail with audio, but there's other times where it's a presentation or like a live event. So it's a kind of a variety show of
Mm,
education geared towards multifamily investments. The benefits associated with the tax around this
yeah.
investment is phenomenal. So
Awesome. Yeah, like I said, it's great information. Like I said, I encourage everyone to check that out and stuff. We'll make
thank
sure to have that in the show notes. But yeah, just kind of touch on your entrepreneur background from, going back way back from your family. Kind of, can you touch down what's like a typical day for you? And do you have any special morning routines?
yeah, so for me, it's my days vary because I'm a senior business manager for a corporation. I always tell people I have 3 full-time jobs. My 3 little ones, and I'm a
Mm,
very hands-on dad. They get a lot of time with me. I get a lot of time with them, and I love it's my like favorite part of life is being their father. Senior business manager, like I said, for a corporation, as well as being part of a syndication team. Because, like I said, it's a team. It's a team sport. So I have to juggle, and my schedule changes daily where I have a conference call or an appointment. It's always something different. So what I like to do is my routine is daily instead of just morning, but it's being very efficient with the use of my time. I lay out every day, there's 24 hours. I look at them and I literally pencil them in. These are the hours you're sleeping. Okay, you have a phone call at 10 tomorrow, that's taken. What comes at 11? Oh, you need to make this phone. So everything, even from doing breakfast with the kids, dinner, bath and bedtime, with everything's in there. So I know, and I just stick to that schedule. And if you do that, you find that you're so much more productive because
hmm
things don't happen to you. You're going according to your plan. Now, life is life, and you're going to get curveballs thrown at you, and you have to be flexible and find a way, to work around that. But for the most part, you're going to be able to stick to your plan on most days. You get so much more accomplished when you're efficient with your time and you have it thought out and well planned. That's it. It's simple. It's a piece of paper that has 24 hours on there. And again, I call it chunking. I'm chunking in what happens with every hour.
Yeah, I like that. I do the exact same thing, and I can attest to that because I got your email from you. I got your reminder say looking forward to the call tomorrow, and then you came exactly on time for it. I mean, it's just like I
Mhm.
said, could totally attest to that. And like I said, it's a lot of most successful people do it that way. So I appreciate you sharing that. With all the
Mhm.
success that you had in your career and things like that, what can you say that you're most grateful for?
So I am most grateful for, I mean, of course, nothing's going to top my children, but, and so that's kind of like a give me. I don't know who, probably a few people would say something different, but it's just being like self-aware, being able to love myself for who I am, and realize also at an early enough age that while life is short, it's also very long. I mean, I just talked about some 30-year things. 30 years is a
hmm
long time. There's some people listening to this who are maybe not even 30 years old. So what I'm getting at is being able to realize that you can almost have your cake and eat it too if you're efficient with your time, and you realize that it's okay to stop and smell the roses and do things that you love. For me, because I am like a lone wolf, a workaholic. That's like the background. But and also I was able to realize and kind of wake up and say, but wait, there's things that you still need to enjoy your life. Because why
mm
else, I mean, do you want to live just so, like, is your legacy hardest working person in the world had zero fun? That doesn't sound how like an ideal way to spend it. So for me, it was just being able to enjoy life with my kids, and realize it early enough, not being able to say this when I'm like 87 and
hmm
have, I don't know, 20 or 30 more years. I'm able to, to say it today as relative what I consider a young man.
Awesome. Yeah, very well said. Like I said, thanks for sharing that. How do we get in contact with you? I know that we have, edifiedequity.com. Can you share some information we can get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my podcast is hosted on Anchor. And what I'm saying is my podcast is syndicated on 8 platforms. The main one, looking at my statistics, people listen to it mostly on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, I think it's actually called. So you can find me there. Just search Edified Equity. You can plug into the podcast. I'm on LinkedIn. Just, look at Dino Pierce, Edified Equity on LinkedIn. Same thing, Facebook. I'm easy to get a hold of. I do have a closed Facebook group that anyone can get into. You just have to ask to come in. And again, there it's geared, it's like a landing place for all of my content in one small place. Now there's people in the group and there's conversations and things, but again, there's no selling, no pitching. It's all to help, to give, play that long game. But, in a nutshell, I'm easy to get a hold of. And, I made a joke recently. Someone contacted me like from college, and she's like, "I've been looking for you like for years." And I was like, "No, how? It's not that hard. Like Dino Pierce, and you should find me." So anyway, she did, but the years part was crazy.
That's funny. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, like I said, I could attest to that. You follow all your information, read your posts and listen to your podcast. You get tremendous amount of information and a lot of detail that I would say that, when people are looking to get into this business and realize listening to podcasts and reading blog, you can get a tremendous amount out of that. And, especially just got to find the right people that are willing to put that effort in there like you do to just to give, like I said, with no return expected at all. And that's really what the true testament is there. Because again, you talk about the long term, because, for some people they're looking for this passive thing where it's just a long-term thing and you can't force it. You can't, squeeze it in. You just got to learn along the way and grow. So Dino's excellent learning about that, and learning about, like I said, entrepreneur background, like I said, because we have so much similarities there. But I really appreciate you taking the time with us to speak with us, sharing all this information, and we'll look forward to connecting with you again soon. We'll keep following your journey, and we'll be in touch. I appreciate that again.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I had a really good time, and thanks again.
All right. Take care. Have a great one.
All right.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes or the listening platform of your choice. Also, please check us out at DwaineLClarke.com, as well as find us on Facebook for more useful content and resources.